Hello friends, good afternoon and welcome to EduSat Live Lectures. Dear friends, today in Chemical Thermodynamics we will be talking about systems of variable compositions. To discuss this topic we have with us our subject expert Dr. Amit Kumar. Dr. Amit Kumar is Assistant Professor in Department of Chemistry in Dayal Singh College, University of Delhi. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Sir to our studios and request him to start the lecture. Welcome Sir.
Thank you very much. First of all, may I wish very good afternoon to all my dear viewers. Dear viewers, as you are aware, we have been having this series of chemical thermodynamics, and in this series we have covered a number of topics. And systems of variable composition, the last topic which we had started with, and in the systems of variable composition we had described the importance of multi-component systems, the systems in which the composition of the system could vary. The composition of system could vary because of a chemical reaction or due to addition or removal of some chemical species from the system. That is, a compositional change is being introduced. Then as a result of this compositional change, what effects on various other thermodynamic properties gets into play. That is what we have discussed, and we have discussed in detail the partial molar quantities. That was a very important topic, then that helps us to calculate the actual specified extensive properties for the system. So now coming over to our the portion which we were started with, we had discussed the chemical potential as the molar Gibbs free energy for a pure component, and for a mixture it is partial molar Gibbs free energy. Now we would like to see that chemical potential, which is just for a pure substance, which is just the molar Gibbs free energy of that substance in a system, basically is also known as the escaping tendency. With that recapitulation, we would like to switch over our attention to how the chemical potential of a chemical species in a mixture gets changed compared to its chemical potential being in a pure substance. So we start with discussion of chemical potential as the escaping tendency of that substance. Now suppose we have a system. This system could be any box or any room or so. Now we can divide this system in two parts. We can call it part A or part B, or region A or region B. We can also call it as Roman numerals, that alpha and beta as two parts. So part alpha and part beta. Suppose we say there are two parts of the system, that is part alpha and part beta. So what happens is that, or in other words, we can also say region alpha or region beta. So now the same substance, let us suppose there is only one substance which is present in both these parts, in both these regions. So suppose there is only one ideal gas which is being present for our consideration purpose. Let us say there is an ideal gas which is present in the region, in the whole system, and in the two regions, of course, there will be that same chemical substance will be there in region alpha and beta. So now whenever there is compositional change, or we have already seen that it is the chemical potential which is an important criteria, which is just nothing but the molar Gibbs free energy of a substance. So therefore we can say that in region alpha, suppose there is molar Gibbs free energy of the substance, and in region beta also there is some molar Gibbs free energy of the same substance. Now the fact of matter is, if there is variation in temperature in the two regions, or if there is variation in pressure in the two regions, or moreover if there is a change in difference in amounts of these two chemical species in these two different regions, then of course there will be a difference in chemical potential. And that difference in chemical potential, what kind of consequences it would lead to in terms of physical changes, that we need to understand. So for that, let us suppose that mu alpha is the chemical potential of the substance in region alpha, and mu beta is the chemical potential of the substance in region beta. And now suppose that the system is present at equilibrium, and now suppose at equilibrium we deliberately transfer the substance amount of the substance dn, very small amount dn is transferred from region alpha to region beta. Then in that situation, it means the region alpha suffers a decrease in the amount of the substance. In the region beta, we observe an increase in the amount of the substance. So, of course, there will be change in due to this this change in composition in both the regions. In both the regions, there will be a change in Gibbs free energy. So, let us say that dg alpha represent the change in Gibbs free energy of region alpha of the system, and this therefore, as we all know from our relationships earlier which we have derived, this change in Gibbs free energy equal to mu alpha, the chemical potential of the substance in the region alpha, multiply with the number of moles of the substance which is being changed. So, dN is the small change, and minus sign is also been introduced, that indicates that from region alpha the substance has been transferred. So, in region alpha there occurs a decrease in amount of substance. That is what this negative sign means actually. And now same way we can calculate the change in Gibbs free energy of substance in region beta, and that is equal to mu beta into dN. Now here you can say there is no negative sign, so it means a plus sign, which clearly indicates that in region beta there occurs an increase in amount of substance by a small value dN, and as a result of which, when we multiply this small value number of moles dN with chemical potential, that is molar Gibbs free energy, that is what we get is the change in Gibbs free energy due to the addition of substance in region beta. So, dg alpha and dg beta in this way we can say are the changes in Gibbs free energy of region alpha and beta due to this transfer. Now, if we add both the change in Gibbs free energy of both region alpha and region beta, then what we would get is the total change in Gibbs free energy of substance, which is represented by symbol dg by dg, and therefore dg equal to dg alpha plus dg beta, which is in this case here when we sum the two expressions of this dg alpha and dg beta, what we get is minus mu alpha plus mu beta into dN. Now, let us suppose that mu alpha is chemical potential, or in other words the molar Gibbs free energy of substance in region alpha is greater than molar Gibbs free energy, or in other words the chemical potential of the substance in phase beta, then dg would be negative, because mu alpha would be greater than mu beta, and with the negative sign mu alpha being there, it clearly means that in equation 3 the bracket term actually is a negative term. When a negative term multiply with this dN, which is a positive term, then total dg will be a negative quantity, and hence it means that above transfer of substance from the region alpha to beta occurs spontaneously. Why spontaneously? Because overall in the system the change in Gibbs free energy will be a negative value. It means as a result of this transfer of substance from region alpha to region beta, there occurs a decrease in Gibbs free energy of the overall system. And when we say so, it means that now we can easily understand, because we are in our supposition that mu alpha is greater than mu beta. And now we conclude, after assuming this, that dg is negative means this transfer is spontaneous in nature. It means a spontaneous transfer of a substance occurs from a region of the substance in which the chemical potential value of the substance is higher, to a region where the chemical potential of the substance is lower. That is clearly indicates that chemical potential therefore is a measure of escaping tendency of a substance. That means a substance, it means, will escape from a region of its high chemical potential to a region where its chemical potential is lower, and this transfer or this migration will continue till the point of time the chemical potential of the two regions become equal. And that's what makes us to conclude that chemical potential can be recognized as the escaping tendency of a substance. Now, having said this, now chemical potential of an ideal gas at a given temperature is related to both temperature and pressure terms. So we can easily say that mu Tp here at the left hand side of the expression in equation 4, basically it symbolizes the chemical potential of the gas or any substance at temperature T and at pressure P, which is equal to mu standard T. Now, mu naught T, which is the symbolic representation for standard value of chemical potential of the substance at specified temperature T. What it does mean is that it is equal to the chemical potential of a substance at temperature T and pressure P equal to its chemical potential at temperature T, keeping the pressure of the substance or the gaseous substance, if it is the gaseous pressure, would be just 1 bar. That is, 1 bar is being a fixed value of pressure, and therefore it clearly shows that standard chemical potential value mu naught T, mu naught parenthesis T means is a function only of temperature, because its value is being taken at the pressure P, which is equal to P standard, that is 1 bar. But now consider a situation when the pressure of the gas is different from that of the standard pressure, then let us say the pressure is P, and then it means then to the standard value of chemical potential we need to add the term which is a measure of pressure of the gas, and that comes from the second term plus RT ln P by P naught. P naught is standard value of pressure. So, you can easily see that if the gaseous pressure is 1 bar, then this P in the numerator expression in expression 4 in the bracket term of last term of the bracket. Here if this P equal to P naught, that is 1 bar, because P naught is 1 bar, then in that situation P by P naught would be equal to 1, and chemical potential in that situation of the gas would just be nothing but its standard chemical potential. But when the pressure is different from that of the standard pressure, then the chemical potential expression can be related to its pressure by way of the expression given in equation number 4, that is to say chemical potential of the gas at temperature T and pressure P is equal to its standard chemical potential plus RT ln P by P naught. Now, mu standard is the standard chemical potential we have just specified. Now, the fact of matter is at a given temperature, the pressure of the gas therefore is a measure of its chemical potential. Now, what we mean to say by this is that if we increase the pressure, you can easily see this term when the pressure is greater than 1 bar value, then in that situation when this P is greater than this ratio would be greater than 1, and logarithmic or value of any expression which is greater than 1 is just a positive number, and therefore the second term would just be a positive number, and then therefore will just add to the standard value of chemical potential, and in that situation we can say a pressure value higher than the 1 bar pressure will only lead to an increase in the chemical potential of the substance relative to its standard state value. So, it means we can conclude therefore that at a given temperature the pressure of the gas is a measure of its chemical potential. So, now you would have observed that we say that if suppose now we consider a balloon, in a balloon there is a gas which has been filled at elevated higher pressure. Then in that situation when the balloon is allowed to expand, that means it gets opened, then in that situation the gas escapes to the atmosphere. The reason being that the pressure of the gas within the balloon is greater as compared to the pressure of the gas outside. So, that is why there occurs a difference in chemical potential, and we have already seen that chemical potential is an escaping tendency of a substance, and the substance will escape from a region of its high chemical potential to a low chemical potential region. And here we can also make an analogy to the situation that we all know that within the balloon there is a higher pressure and outside there is lower pressure. So, there is a difference of pressure also, there is difference of chemical which reflect itself in term of difference in chemical potential. So, now for all practical purposes, as pressure is a measure of chemical potential of a gas, rather than saying that gas will escape from a region of higher pressure to a lower pressure, we will now concentrate on giving a statement that the gas or any substance in general will escape from a region of its higher chemical potential to a region of its lower chemical potential, just because pressure is a measure of the chemical potential of the substance. Right, having said so, now we have learnt basically the chemical potential, how it varies with pressure of a gas or of any substance. Now we need to understand, that is we have just understood about the chemical potential of a substance in its pure state. Now it is turn to really look at what will be the, or how the changes in the chemical potential of a substance will be introduced when it is present not in its pure state, but rather if it is present in a mixture. So let us concentrate on that. Now in order to do that, let us consider that chemical potential of a gas in a mixture of ideal gases. Now let us represent not mu as chemical potential, but let us say mu I, which means if suppose there is a mixture and there are n number of components. So we can introduce a counter here, the I value can range from 1 to n. 1 means the component number 1 we are talking about component number 1, 2 means we are talking about component number 2, and up to n means we will be talking about nth component. So in general we can say mu I mix means this is the symbolic representation of chemical potential of ith substance in a mixture, and the mixture when it is subjected to temperature T and pressure P, and now that is equal to, now you can easily make up what way this expression can be chosen. This again chemical potential will again just be equal to, of any substance will just be equal to the standard chemical potential. So in the right hand side we have written first term in the right hand side expression as mu I standard in parenthesis T, which means this is symbolic representation for standard chemical potential of ith substance at temperature T. So therefore it means the chemical potential of a substance in its mixed state mixture equal to its standard chemical potential plus RT ln Pi by P naught. Now it is important to note here, earlier when the substance was pure, here instead of Pi there was P, which means total pressure of the gaseous system. Now here, because if suppose there are a number of gases, so each gas will exert its own pressure and the total sum would be total pressure of the system, and the contribution of that towards the total pressure that each gas will make, that will be called its partial pressure. So instead of using total pressure here, Pi, the partial pressure of each gas is being made use of. And when we do so, the second term in this equation number 5 basically represent the contribution towards the chemical potential of ith substance in a mixture due to its value of partial pressure. And now we all know from Dalton's law that partial pressure of a gas in a mixture of gases equal to xi, the amount fraction of that component in the mixture, multiply with P, the total pressure of the system. So therefore making use of this Dalton law of partial pressure, which is being represented by way of equation 6, we can introduce this equation 6 in equation 5 here. So instead of Pi we can write xi into P here. So then in that situation what we get is mu I mix under, that is chemical potential of component I in a mixture under condition of temperature T, pressure P, equal to its standard chemical potential of that ith substance at temperature T plus RT ln. Now instead of Pi, the partial pressure of the gas, what we have written is, making use of Dalton's law, xi, the amount fraction of the ith component in the mixture, multiply with total pressure, and now divide by standard pressure. So now it is important to note that here we have divided pressure P, total pressure, divide by P naught, that is standard unit, that is standard pressure of 1 bar, just to make this ratio a dimensionless quantity, because it is important to note that I have already in one of my previous lecture conveyed that we in all expressions, if we want to bring about logarithm of any quantity, we need to make that quantity a dimensionless quantity. So make sure that whatever quantity is written, you just divide its numerical value having its unit, divide by standard units, so that a fixed values are being taken, and it represents in any unit you can make use of. Suppose pressure, you can make use of it Newton per meter, bar, atmosphere, millimeter of Hg. Whenever you divide it with 1 bar pressure, in order to make the units cancel, you have to convert that value of pressure in other units to that value of bar unit. So, always automatically the answer will always be the same. That is why whenever logarithm functions are considered, that can be considered of only a dimensionless quantity. That applies, logarithmic function applies only to a number which does not have a dimension there. So, if it does not have a dimension, then only its logarithm can be taken up, right. Having said so, now we can now split this equation. Instead of having, we all know from our senior secondary school knowledge that logarithm of a into b term equal to logarithm of a plus logarithm of b. So, that is how we have split this 2-term equation in 3-term equation. Mu I mix Tp equal to mu I standard at temperature T plus RT ln P by P naught plus RT ln Xi. So, that is what we have done. P by P naught we have taken as one term and Xi as another term, and both the terms were in multiplication under a logarithmic function. So, log of one term plus log of other term. That is what we have done. Now, it is important to recognize what these two terms, some of these first two terms represent. Basically, chemical potential of ith substance under standard condition at temperature T plus RT ln P, that is total pressure of the system, whatever it is. If that substance has its total pressure at matching to the total pressure value of the overall system, then the sum of these first two terms become equal to what? It is equal to chemical potential of that ith substance when it is present in pure state. So, this basically we have chosen the symbol mu I star parenthesis Tp. Mu I star means chemical potential of ith component when it is present in pure state, and this mu I star is basically equal to sum of first two terms in this equation 6. So, that is how we can say mu I mix chemical potential of ith substance in a mixture at temperature T at pressure P is equal to chemical potential of the same substance when it is present in pure state at temperature T and pressure P, plus we should add another term to this pure state chemical potential RT ln Xi, which is basically a term which relates to the composition of the system. Xi is amount fraction of that component in its mixed state or in mixture. Now, the fact of matter is that Xi, when it is a mixture, Xi, the amount fraction of any component, if there are more than one component in a particular phase, so obviously it is clear that Xi, the amount fraction of any component, will always be less than 1, and when amount fraction of any component will always be less than 1, that means Xi will always be less than 1. When Xi will always be less than 1, it means when you take the logarithm of any quantity which is less than 1, it means it would give you a negative value. Why? Because log of 1 is 0, log of numeric value 1 is 0, and log of any numeric value which is greater than 1 is a positive number, and log of any quantity which is less than 1 is always a negative value. We all know this, and it does mean since Xi is always less than 1, so therefore ln natural logarithm of Xi, the amount fraction, will always be a negative quantity. It means RT ln Xi term, the second term in the expression of chemical potential of a mixture as represented by equation 7, this second term will always be a negative quantity. It means from the chemical potential value of a pure substance, this value must be decreased, must be subtracted in order to get chemical potential of substance in a mixture. What it indicates? It clearly indicates that chemical potential of a substance in a mixture is always less than chemical potential of the substance when it is present as a pure substance at same condition of temperature and pressure as represented by total pressure of the mixture. So, it is very clear that when a substance under same condition of temperature and pressure is present in a mixture, it has a lesser value of chemical potential as compared to the chemical potential of the same substance when it is present in a pure state. The reason being that we will get to know very shortly when a mixing takes place or we carry out mixing process, then there occurs in this mixing process there occurs a decrease in Gibbs free energy. So, Gibbs free energy, or in other words the molar Gibbs free energy, is basically what it is, basically it is chemical potential. So, obviously chemical potential of a substance decreases due to being present in a mixed state because of an entropy effect that we will discuss in the subsequent sections. Thank you so much. Alright, so after the discussion of a comparison of chemical potential of a substance being in a mixed state or mixture compared to its pure state, now let us focus our attention to additivity rule. This is a very important rule in order to obtain the value of various extensive state properties of a system and in order to know how it is related to the various partial molar quantities or the chemical potential. Now, having said so, so we start our derivation of additivity rule for Gibbs free energy of the system. In order to do that, let us first of all take the differential or the small change in Gibbs free energy. We all know that Gibbs free energy is a function of temperature and pressure. So, we can as well as the composition terms, that is number of moles of various chemical species. So, all these variables, temperature, pressure, number of moles, become the variables depending upon which the Gibbs free energy of a system can undergo a change. So, let us write the quantified small change in Gibbs free energy of a system. So, dG here equal to, we can write change dG, the change in Gibbs free energy of the system, dG equal to del G by del T. We have already specified all these terms, we need not specify it again and again, because in our earlier lectures on the same topic, systems of variable composition, we had conveyed how to write the small change in any function depending upon the change in the state variables. So, since temperature, pressure, number of moles of various chemical species are the variables here. So, it is rate of change of Gibbs free energy of system with temperature multiply with temperature change. So, about second term talks about pressure change, how pressure change bring about change in Gibbs free energy. Then third term number of mole N1, how its change in a number of mole component 1 bring about change in Gibbs free energy, and N2 number of mole of component 2, and so on and so forth. Now, we already know the first term del G by del T at constant P, that is just nothing but minus S. So, dG equal to minus S dt plus VdP plus all these terms, partial molar Gibbs free energy, as we already specified that this is called chemical potential. So here G1 pm becomes equal to mu1. So this expression is not new now. You have already having a glimpse of the equation that is called fundamental equation in our previous lecture on the same topic, system of variable composition. Now the idea is how we can make use of this equation in order to derive the additivity rule. So now let us have a look at, focus on another time this equation. Now if suppose temperature and pressure is being kept constant, so dt equal to 0, dp equal to 0, and in that situation the first two term equation number 11 would be equal to 0, because dt 0, dp 0, and then therefore what we are left with, we are left with n such terms where it talks about mu1 dn1 plus mu2 dn2 and so on and so forth. So we can write it as therefore dg equal to summation, a sum sign, summation of mu I dni, that means a number of terms mu I dni are being added, for example mu1 dn1 plus mu2 dn2 and so on and so forth. Now the fact of matter is, when we go to integrate this equation 12, what we go to get is the Gibbs free energy as a state function. We get its change from one state to the other, and if one state is having Gibbs free energy 0 because there is no other matter, so without getting into the nitty-gritties of integration and relating it to the physical interpretation, what we get is that integration of this equation 12 will lead us to the expression d, to the expression this given by equation 13, that is G, the Gibbs free energy of the system, is related to the sum of various terms, each being the product of chemical potential of a particular component times the number of moles of that component. The number of types of components are there, for each component such term can be added, and what you get is total Gibbs free energy of system. Okay, so this is basically the additivity rule for the Gibbs free energy. Now the fact of matter is that additivity rule is applicable to all partial molar quantities. Mu I is just nothing but partial molar Gibbs free energy. So we can say that Gibbs free energy of the system equal to summation Ni GIPM. Instead of mu I, we can also write GIPM. So similarly, if it is so, and if such additivity rule is applicable as a general rule to all partial molar quantities, this we can make use of some small derivation in order to prove this, that this additivity rule is applicable to all partial molar quantities. Let us differentiate equation 13 with respect to temperature. So what we get at constant pressure and Nis, what we get at the left hand side, del G by del T at constant P and Is. That's what we get at left hand side here. To the right hand side, what we get when we differentiate the right hand side of equation 13 with respect to temperature at constant P and I's, what we get is summation Ni, because Ni would not get differentiated with respect to temperature. So as temperature changes, number of mole, composition cannot just change that way unless there occurs a reaction between the various components, which we do not assume over here. So therefore del mu I by del T at constant P and I's. Right, having said so, in the left hand side expression, we all know that del G, that change in Gibbs free energy with respect to change in temperature, is just nothing but the entropy effect over the negative sign. So therefore minus S is the symbolic representation we get at the left hand side, which is equal to summation Ni. Now the fact of matter is, in place of mu I, we can introduce the value of GIPM, which is just nothing but the rate of change of Gibbs free energy of the system with respect to number of moles. So therefore GIPM, for GIPM we can already we can make use of already known value, that is del G, its differential with respect to del Ni, number of mole of component I at constant temperature, pressure and J's. Now since G is a state function, we all know G is a state function, and we can therefore apply Euler's reciprocity relationship to the differential second order differential of any of the state function, which says that order of differentiation of a state function is immaterial. So what we can do is we can interchange the differentials, the variables with respect to which this Gibbs free energy is being differentiated first, and differentiated later. That is what we have done in the next equation. We have taken del Ni outside and del T inside, but it is important to note that the variables which have been kept constant during a particular differentiation should also be reversed. So, these constant variables values would also be reversed, P and I's would be taken inside, Tp and J's would be taken outside. Now, having said so, what is del G by del T at constant P and I's? We make use of our knowledge and we simply get del G by del T at constant P and I's is just nothing but is minus S. So, therefore, we introduce instead of del G by del T at constant P and I's equal to minus S. So, minus S minus sign we can take it outside, and what we guess is del S by del Ni at constant T, P and J's, J naught equal to I. It simply is just nothing but SIPM. That we already know about, the same knowledge you can relate to the observation of SIPM in our previous lecture. So, therefore, minus S equal to minus summation Ni SIPM, minus sign cancels to the both sides. What we get is the total entropy of the system can be now related to summation of the various terms which include Ni SIPM, that is the partial molar entropy of each of the component multiplied with the number of moles of that component, and that summation is being carried on to all the components which are present in the system. That is how we can, that means we can make use of additivity rule in order to obtain the value, numeric value of any state functions. For example, Gibbs free energy of as state function of the system, entropy as state function of the system, volume as state function of the system, just by relating it or taking it as a sum of number of moles times the partial molar Gibbs free energy. If it is volume, then partial molar volume, and so on and so forth. So, having said this, so we can say in conclusion that additivity rule is applicable to all the extensive state properties, that is the entropy, volume, enthalpy, Helmholtz free energy and the internal energy. We can relate it to the partial molar values, each multiply with the number of moles of various components, and each term is being summed over all the components. That is how we get the total state function value of a particular variable or a function for a system. We can go other way around also. If we know the total Gibbs free energy of the system, we can make use of that, and we can get the partial molar Gibbs free energy of a particular component. That also we can go to do about. Right, having said so, now we focus after additivity rule on a very important concept called Gibbs-Duhem equation. Basically, Gibbs-Duhem equation utility we can understand in a way that Gibbs-Duhem equation is one such equation which helps us to relate the change in composition of the system with that of the various partial molar quantities. It could be chemical potential, it could be partial molar Gibbs free energy, it could be partial molar volume or so. It means we want to know, if suppose we bring about a change in composition of the system, that means some amount of one of a particular component is being increased, how it will translate in terms of the change in partial molar Gibbs free energy of that component, and not only that, how the partial molar Gibbs free energy of the other components would get changed. So, depending upon that, total Gibbs free energy or any state function value would undergo a change. So, that is basically what we understand from the knowledge of Gibbs-Duhem equation, and that is why this is a very important equation. Let us focus on this derivation. Now, in order to derive this, let us consider additivity rule for a multi-component open system. That is for Gibbs free energy. That G, which represent Gibbs free energy, is basically we can write as summation of mu I Ni. That is number of mole times the chemical potential of each of the components, and each such term is summed over all the components. Now, having said so, let us differentiate this equation 13. What we get is dg, that left hand side the differential is dg equal to, now when we differentiate the right hand side, it is important to note that once we will differentiate mu I, then Ni will be taken as constant one, and then other time we would keep mu I is constant and we will differentiate Ni. That is just simply the product rule which we will apply for the differentiation. So dg equal to summation mu I dni plus ni d mu I. Sorry, there is a correction here in equation 16. Please make note of the fact that after plus sign there should be a summation sign which should be introduced over here. Right, having said so, right here it is, dg equal to summation mu I dni plus summation ni d mu I, because when we go to differentiate it, we are going to differentiate it within that summation sign. So summation sign will be applicable on both the terms when we apply the product rule for the differentiation purpose. So by fundamental equation, now this is one equation, one expression of change in Gibbs free energy we have obtained from the knowledge of additivity rule. We already we were already having the fundamental equation which also represent the change in Gibbs free energy of the system, that is dg equal to minus sdt plus vdp plus summation mu I dni. If you just remember in the beginning of the talk and earlier talk on system of variable composition, also this fundamental equation has been derived. So now we can make a comparison of these two equations which relate the same quantity dg, the change in Gibbs free energy of the system, at the left hand side, and when we do so, the terms like mu I dni do cancel, and what we actually get is summation ni d mu I equal to minus sdt plus vdp. And therefore at constant temperature and pressure, if we keep now if we introduce the condition of constant temperature and pressure of the system due to the while the mixing goes on, and in that situation dt and dp would be equal to 0. And when it is, because there is no change in temperature and pressure, we have kept the temperature and pressure constant, so dt dp would be equal to 0, and ultimately what we would get is summation ni d mu I, which is left hand side of the expression, equal to 0. So this becomes our equation 18. Basically this is an important equation which is known as Gibbs-Duhem equation for Gibbs free energy, because here mu I is just nothing but partial molar Gibbs free energy. We can write similar equation for volume also. So then in that situation it would be ni d VIPM equal to 0. For G is ni summation ni d GIPM equal to 0. Here GIPM is being represented by symbol mu I for chemical potential. That's simple. Right, having said so, this is the Gibbs-Duhem equation for Gibbs free energy, and this equation actually shows that how the variation in composition relates to the change in chemical potential, and shows that chemical potential does not change in an independent way but in a related way. In order to understand this, now let us consider that if suppose there are only two components, so I the counter will vary only from 1 to 2. So this Gibbs-Duhem equation for a binary two component system would get transformed to n1 d mu1 plus n2 d mu2. That is equal to 0. That is Gibbs-Duhem equation for the binary two component system. So we can take this n1 d mu1 to the other side and minus n1 d mu1 equal to n2 d mu2. Now we can divide this equation by n2. What we would get is d mu2 equal to minus n1 by n2 d mu1. Now we all know the change in chemical potential occurs due to change in temperature, due to change in pressure, due to change in amount of a particular component. Suppose we say that let us add some amount of component 1 in the system, then of course its chemical potential will increase. So then in that situation d mu1 will be a positive value. What it does mean, that change in chemical potential of component 1 will be a positive change, that is the chemical potential will increase, and when that occurs, now it is multiplied with n1 by n2. Now n1 by n2 is what? Is number of mole of component 1 and 2 will again be a positive quantity. Now here to the right hand side of this expression 19, it is minus n1 by n2 d mu1. So all these are positive quantity except for this negative sign. What it does mean? D mu2 would be a negative value. So it means when d mu1 would be a positive value, d mu2 would be a negative value. It means when you add component number 1, its chemical potential will increase, but it is not that it does not bring about any change in chemical potential of other components, because the composition here is a intensive composition which relates to proportion, and proportion undergoes a change, and that is why proportion of one component increases, then the proportion of other components would decrease. So it reflects in the result that result of this change in composition is such that when there occurs increase in chemical potential of one of the component, then you will observe a decrease in chemical potential of the other component when you have added the amount of first component. Right, having said so, similarly we can derive Gibbs-Duhem equation for volume also. In order to do that and in order to make such analogies for all other state functions, let us derive for volume also. Now consider additivity rule for volume. What that would be? For Gibbs free energy, the additivity rule has been G equal to summation Ni mu I, or in other words GIPM we could make use of. So for volume here we would make use of VIPM. Having said so, we would relate the volume, the total volume of the system with the partial molar volume of various quantities as V equal to summation Ni VIPM in equation 20. Now again in the same way, in the same manner, we can differentiate this equation 20 with what we would get is, as a result of this differentiation, to the left side what we would get is dV equal to summation VIPM into dNi plus, again here summation sign should be introduced in equation 21 in second term also. So there is a little correction over here also. So summation Ni d VIPM. Now having said this, now we can consider volume. This is one equation. This is one equation which that is equation 21, which relate the change in total volume of the system due to change in number of mole and partial molar volume of various constituents. Now here we can develop another equation. For that we can consider that let us consider that volume as function of temperature, pressure and number of moles of various other components. So we can write dV equal to del V by del T at constant Pni's into dt, first term, that is the change in volume due to change in temperature. Then the second term is change in volume due to change in pressure, and third onward terms, that is that summation del V by del Ni at constant Tp and J is just nothing but as can be called as VIPM into dNi. Now it is important to note that if we keep the temperature constant, pressure constant, we will talk about it a little later. Now we can make use of equation 21 here, which we had just derived earlier. If you note back from that Gibbs-Duhem additivity rule, we have derived dV equal to summation VIPM into dNi plus summation Ni dVIPM. This equation 21, and we have also the change in volume of the system being related to temperature change, pressure change and number of moles change in various constituents. So here we can, it is therefore clearly an indication that we can compare the two equations, equation 23 and 21, and because there is left hand side there is dV being present in both the equations. So ultimately what we would get is summation Ni dVIPM equal to del V by del T at constant P Ni's dt plus del V by del P at constant T Ni's. Now if we keep temperature pressure constant, dt dP would be 0 as we have considered earlier. So here what we would get is summation Ni dVIPM equal to 0. Now this therefore can be called as this is the Gibbs-Duhem equation for volume, as we have considered the Gibbs-Duhem equation for the Gibbs free energy. In the same way, we can again consider the binary system. For the binary system, this Gibbs-Duhem equation for volume Ni dVIPM can be considered as N1 dV1 PM plus N2 dV2 PM. Summation sign goes because there are only two components are present and this equals to 0. We can take N1 dV1 PM to the other side. What we would get is minus N1 dV1 PM equal to N2 dV2 PM. So we can rearrange and we can ultimately get dV2 PM equal to minus N1 by N2 dV1 PM. Basically, the fact of matter is when suppose we add a particular component number 1 in the system, what would happen? You are adding the quantity of matter in the system. The addition of this quantity of matter of the system, will not it increase the volume of the system? Of course it will. So whose volume it is it anyway? It is the volume contribution towards the total volume of the system due to the addition of component number 1. So it is for sure that there will be an increase in partial molar volume of that particular component. Of course it can go in negative way also. There is another story for magnesium sulfate, that is an exception which we have dealt with earlier. Now with dV1 PM being a positive value, in that situation, now you can say N1 by N2 will be a positive value and with a negative sign, clearly indicates dV2 PM will be a negative value in that situation. So what it reflects, if the partial molar volume of one component due to its addition increases, then that of the others must decrease. That means it is a compensatory kind of an effect which has been observed on partial molar quantities being represented by one component or that of other component. If the one increases, there occurs a decrease in the other one. Right. Having said so, now it is time for us to look at the mixing process. Mixing process of a number of gases. Let us consider a number of gases, and all these gases are ideal in nature, each gas being maintained at temperature T and pressure P. And if it is so, you can consider here in the figure, you can see in the whole system we have just divided the whole system in a number of compartments, and each gas is being confined to its designated compartment. And suppose there are K gases, gas 1, gas 2, gas 3 and K gases. All these gases are ideal in nature, each being maintained at same temperature and pressure. And suppose we now remove all these barriers or boundaries which have confined each of these gases in a particular region in this big system. Let us remove all these boundaries. What will happen? The gases will migrate, will flow, as we have already considered. We did saw couple of minutes back that chemical potential is the escaping tendency of a substance. A substance escape from a higher chemical potential to a lower chemical potential. And if there is in a region there is only a gas 1, and in all other regions there is no gas 1, so gas 1 will have a gradient in its chemical potential by virtue of its composition, and as a result gas 1 will escape till a uniform distribution of gas 1 will occur. Similarly for gas 2, 3, 4 and up to K. So ultimately we will have a mixture. But now it is important to note that pressure of each compartment was P, and there is no volume which is being changed, because the pressure before and after again is being the same, which is maintained at P. Now the pressure, which is the total pressure in a mixture, is basically a sum of now various partial pressures P1, P2, P3, P4 and so on of the various components in the mixture. So by way of mixing process, what has actually occurred? Actually it has occurred that a pressure of the gas being confined in a small volume, now as the volume element which is being accessible to a gas in a mixture is greater, its pressure has decreased from total pressure P to its partial pressure P1, P2 or so on and so forth. So basically when mixing occurs, the total pressure takes the form of partial pressure, which is lesser than that of total pressure, but total pressure of the overall system remains constant. Having said so, now according to additivity rule, N1 number of moles multiply with chemical potential of a component represents its Gibbs free energy. So Gibbs free energy contribution of each gas separately we can add to get initial Gibbs free energy of the system. So N1 mu1 plus N2 mu2 and so on and so forth. Now mu1 is chemical potential of the gas, which is nothing but due to, according to the expression of chemical potential, its standard chemical potential plus RT ln P, because pressure is being same for each of the gas. So second term RT ln P would all be the same for each of the gas. Now having said so, now what would be the final Gibbs free energy of the overall system in a mixture? Now same way, rather than introducing mu1 the chemical potential of gas 1 its pure state, all we can do is, instead of N1 mu1 N2 mu2 being added, we can add N1 mu1 mix plus N2 mu2 mix, that is number of mole times the chemical potential of that particular gas in a mixture, and that is what it will be, it will reflect itself some difference. N1 multiplied with chemical potential of gas 1 in a mixture, which is nothing but its standard value of chemical potential plus RT ln P1. Here P1 is different from P, P1 is partial pressure. So therefore this summation can be taken up. So when we subtract final value of Gibbs free energy from that of initial value, what we will note that we will end up with a number of terms, each being having corresponding to a particular component, that is N1 number of mole of component 1 RT ln P1 by P. Standard chemical potential terms will cancel. So ultimately we will have P1 by P2, P1, that is partial pressure of component 1 divided by total pressure according to Dalton's law of partial pressure is just nothing but amount fraction of component 1. So here delta G mix would be a sum of the terms such as N1 RT ln X1 plus N2 RT ln X2 and so on and so forth up to K. So this we can sum it as delta G mix equal to summation Ni RT ln Xi, number of mole of gaseous component 1 multiply with RT ln Xi. So now we can multiply and divide this equation with total number of moles being of all the various gases which are present in the system. So when we do so, here the denominator term we can take it inside of the summation term, this n we can 1 by n we can take it inside. What we would get is n RT summation Ni divided by n ln Xi, Ni by n is Xi. So delta G mix equal to nRT summation Xi ln Xi. Now what is, so this is basically the derivation for change in Gibbs free energy or the change in Gibbs free energy of the mixing process. That is, when we go to mix a number of gases, how the total Gibbs free energy of the system undergoes a change. So if we just closely look at it, look at this expression delta G mix equal to nRT summation Xi ln Xi. Xi again we all know that is always less than 1. So logarithmic value of any quantity less than 1 would always be a negative quantity. It does mean that Gibbs free energy of mixing will always be a sum of all the various terms which are negative in quantity. It means delta G mixing will be a negative quantity. What it does mean that Gibbs free energy of a system undergoes a decrease as a result of mixing. Now why it occurs? In order to understand this, let us consider an equation. We all know that this differential equation del G by del T at constant P equal to minus S. Now, what is this? Instead of G, if we make use of delta G mix, what we would get is minus delta S mix. So it means when we go to differentiate delta G mix with respect to temperature at constant pressure, N can be taken at outside constant, total number of moles are constant, Xi ln Xi being constant. So differentiation of temperature would just be 1 and therefore delta S mix would be equal to, because this differential equal to minus S, so therefore minus delta S mix equal to minus NR Xi ln Xi, here Xi ln Xb, X ln Xa plus Xb ln Xb for a binary 2 component system. So delta RH just being delta H mixing as results from the equation H equal to G plus Ts. So delta H mix equal to delta G mix plus T delta S mix. So when we go to apply that, what we get is delta H mix equal to 0. So it clearly indicates the decrease in Gibbs free energy of the system is not due to thermal interaction. It is basically due to the entropy effect. As the entropy increases, the Gibbs free energy of the system decreases. There is no thermal interaction, there is no volume change also, which we can also obtain. So it is a purely entropy effect, the mixing process. When the mixing process occurs, the Gibbs free energy of the system decreases. The entropy, this decrease in Gibbs free energy of the system is accompanied by an increase in entropy of the system, and the volume of the system does not suffer a change, so is the enthalpy of the system. So with that we come to the conclusion of this series on while we are having today the discussion of subject matter of complete discussion of systems of variable composition. We have learnt how the mixing process has led to a change in various thermodynamic functions value. These are very helpful in dealing with the chemical equilibrium systems. How the chemical equilibrium reactions occurs, all these questions can be answered by the knowledge which we have gained in this series through this particularly this particular topic, systems of variable composition. With that, we would say thank you very much for watching our program on the series of chemical thermodynamics. Thank you so much.
On that note, I would like to thank sir for this very enriching discussion, and thank you dear friends for watching our show. Stay tuned and keep watching. Thank you.